Hello everyone, in the last video on designing modern roundabouts, we finished off geometric design of single lane roundabouts. Now it's time to go about geometric design of multi-lane roundabouts. Alright, we're still at the second part, geometric design, introducing geometric elements, and the references haven't changed any compared to the last video, so nothing to do with them. And let's get started. Alright, if you recall, when we started discussing geometric design of single lane roundabouts, we start off with ICD. I mean, this distance here all the way across the circulated roadway and center island to this point. This is ICD, diameter inscribed by the outer curve. We discussed the factors that play a role in selecting the appropriate size for ICD, and also at the end we came up with a table you could use to select the appropriate size for your ICD depending on the environment, which could be suburban or rural areas or urban areas, and also the traffic condition that take the combination and proportion of trucks into selecting the appropriate size for ICD. And also we discussed how you could split the ICD into circulated roadway and also the apron. Here for multi-lane roundabouts, we follow the same manner and start off with ICD. Again, this diameter here, inscribed by the outer curve. And the factors that affect the size of ICD are similar to the ones we discussed for single lane roundabouts, but let's do a brief discussion. Well, normally larger design vehicles require larger ICD, that's obvious. And in terms of environment, rural roundabouts normally call for larger ICD, especially due to consideration and concerns for the roundabout being spotted by the drivers in time. And normally you deal with roundabouts having 4 legs, but there are situations where the roundabout is required to deal with more than 4 legs, sometimes 5 legs, and in this case the ICD must be large enough to accommodate the entry and exit radius for the extra leg or legs. And it's desirable for the approaches to intersect at a right angle around 90 degrees, but oblique angles also arise every so often, and the sharper this turn gets, the sharper this turn gets, the larger ICD will be needed, but there were a limit. If you recall, this angle here can get less than 75 degrees, otherwise you'll be needed to realignment, normally the minor approach. And the geometry of roundabout must be able to control the entry speed at the point of entry through this deflection at the entry point. So the center island must be large enough to provide enough deflection at the entry point. The larger center island normally provide more deflection, so more speed control. Here is where the size of ICD is important, because the normally larger ICD produce a larger center island. And sometimes some restricted right of way pushes you towards the smaller size of ICD. This is where you need to compromise your ideals. All right, let me clean up a bit here we don't need this one, and also these. All right, let's see what size of ICD is recommended for multi-lane roundabouts. Referring to NCHRP report 672 and roundabout guide from Federal Highway Administration and also Wisconsin, that you would come to this conclusion that for 2-lane roundabouts located in urban areas, normally a range of 150 to 180 feet is required for ICD, and for 2-lane roundabouts located in rural areas, a range of 180 feet to 230 feet is required. And if it's a 3-lane roundabout, normally a range of 230 feet up to 300 feet will be adequate. This is the normal range for ICD based on the environment and of the roundabout and also the number of lane. Now that we know about the size of ICD, let's see how we can split it into the circulatory roadway and the central island. Alright, to do this there are two methods. One, you can refer to this table. This is from Ashto Green Book 7th edition, and you consider the radius on inner edge of traveled way for the radius of central island, and the case 3 is the one that you will deal with based on your traffic condition. And this row you can use it for the R values in between 40 feet to 50 feet, and you need these rows up to the one equals to 100 feet. Now if it's a 2-lane roundabout located in urban areas and the traffic condition is A or B, which is very frequent, then the normal range for radius of central island will be in between 40 feet to 50 feet. And if it's a 2-lane roundabout located in rural areas and the traffic condition is B or C, or if it's a 2-lane roundabouts located in urban areas and the traffic condition is C, which is possible but not very probable, then the normal range for the radius of central island would be in between 65 feet to 75 feet. And if it's a 3-lane roundabout, then the radius of central island will be in between 75 feet up to 100 feet. Alright, now we can demonstrate how we can use this table to determine the width of a circulatory roadway. Alright, suppose it's a 2-lane roundabout located in urban area and the traffic condition is A, here the traffic condition A, and the radius of central island is 40 feet, here 40 feet. Now the needed width for circulatory roadway will be at least 31 feet, and you remember to add 2 or 3 feet to the values you get from this table, which accounts for the lateral clearance between the edge of traveled way and the face of curb on both sides. Alright, you can also interpolate between the rows if you need to, and this is the first method. Let's see about the second method, which is more accurate. In this case, you need to use a software like AutoTurn or vehicle tracking to simulate the path of vehicles where they're making their turn, and the information you need to use this method is this figure here. This lateral clearance is this lateral clearance between the edge of traveled way and wheel path of the vehicle. It's at least 2 feet. The Z parameter, which accounts for the difficulty of driving in curve, which is also 2 feet. The lateral clearance between the body of two vehicles, which is 4 feet, and here again the lateral clearance between the wheel path and the edge of travel way, which is again 2 feet, and for rear and front overhang, you may want to add around 2 feet to these values. You also need to know about the combination of traffic you want to simulate in the software. Case 3, and based on your traffic condition, you may want to use one of these combination, and you'll get the needed widths for your circulatory roadway. Here again, remember to add 2 to 3 feet to the values you get from your simulation, which accounts for the lateral clearance between the edge of travel way and also the face of curve on both sides. Having your circulatory widths you deducted from half of your ICD, you can get the radius of your central island, and it's kind of done. But what if an occasional large truck is to use the facility? If you want them to stay in the line, you need to introduce the apron, which is part of the central island. But if they're allowed to encroach on the adjacent lanes, like what you can see in this figure, then you can be kind of sure that the widths of circulatory of multi-lane roundabouts are wide enough to accommodate occasional large vehicles when they're allowed to encroach on adjacent lanes. For example, a WB40 when it's a roundabout located in urban areas, or a WB67 when it's a 2-lane, for example, roundabout located in rural areas. But if you want them to stay in the lines, then as we just mentioned, you need to introduce the apron here, which is part of the central island. Let's first see this footage. As you can see, they want this large truck to stay in a line as it's make a left turn around the central island. As you can see, it can make its left turn without encroaching on adjacent lane. If you want to simulate this and get the widths, the needed widths for the apron, you again use the software like AutoTurn or vehicle tracking, and using the center line of the circulatory roadway, you can simulate it in the software, and the extra widths you get from your simulation compared to the width of the half of the width of the circulated roadway, it will be the needed width for the apron, which couldn't be less than 4 to 5 feet as a minimum. Alright, it's done. You may also be interested in this lane configuration. It's a shifted lane, and we will talk about this in the following videos. Alright, thanks for watching. Hoping it was helpful. I say goodbye for now.